I've been through way worse things than not being the starter on day one. When that happens, it's nothing. It's like, okay, like it's not my time now, but it's going to be my time. And you just got to trust in the work that you put in, the belief you did. And then also, too, sometimes I really think that people, they lose track of how far they came. I think back about those nights I was sitting D2 staring at the ceiling like, man, I got to get out of here. Like, okay, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to get that start. And it's just that self-belief that you're like, I'm going to get there. Like everything I have is right in front of me. God's giving me the tools. I just have to go use them.
Welcome to Athlete Country Club, the podcast built for parents, athletes, and competitors chasing the next level. I'm your host, Marcus McMarion, former Division I quarterback, now founder of Athlete Country Club. I started this show because, like many of you, I had to learn the recruiting process the hard way, traveling up and down the state, spending thousands trying to figure out what actually works. Each week, we break it down through two powerful segments. First, Coach Talk. This is where we sit down with college coaches, director of player personnel, recruiters to uncover exactly what they look for when offering scholarships. No fluff, just the truth from people making the decisions. Second, Athlete CEO. Here we go beyond the field, into habits, training, and mindset that build elite performance and long-term success. You'll hear from strength coaches, nutritionists, sports psychologists, and former athletes who've turned their grind into greatness in business, leadership, and life. Because being an athlete isn't just about playing the game, it's about mastering it and building your legacy beyond it. So whether you're a parent trying to navigate recruiting or an athlete ready to level up, you're in the right place. Welcome to Athlete Country Club, where we turn potential into performance and performance into purpose. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Athlete Country Club. I'm your host, Marcus McMarion. Today's guest is Mykal Walker, teammate, a champion, and someone who's beaten the odds at every level of football. We were teammates at Fresno State, winning a 2018 Mountain West Championship and multiple bowl games together. Mykal's journey didn't start with stars or major Division I offers. He's a JUCO product who worked his way to Fresno State, became a fourth-round draft pick, and has built a great NFL career. And then in that league where, really nothing's guaranteed. So, Mike, welcome to Athlete Country Club, brother.
Man, what's going on, man? I appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate you taking some time. I know you had a little travel day just leaving the Jets and you just got kind of back home in your Dallas home station. So I appreciate you taking some time. And I just wanted to kind of take it back to Fresno, bro. I mean, that just culture and team. And, man, we had so many guys there, just even coaches and players. And for you, what do you think kind of made that 2018 kind of Fresno State team so special beyond the talent?
Man, I just think it was a group of guys who have been beating the odds their whole life. Either not as far as like not good players and whatever, but as far as going to small schools, grew up in a small town, didn't really get the recognition that, you probably would have gotten if you went to a bigger school or went to a bigger or lived in a bigger town. So I think for us, it was just we kind of had that chip on our shoulder where really we took that us versus the world mentality. Like no one thinks we can win, but we think we can win. And I think that's like huge. That speaks like volumes to the guys that we have in the locker room and now the coaches that we have out there.
Yeah, no, and I feel like when I went to Oregon State out of high school, obviously you know that. When I came back to Fresno, that was the first thing I realized to where I've never even talked about this publicly. Like Oregon State's not Alabama, we all know that, but Oregon State was a big Pac-12 school when I went there, and you do get certain guys there that are Gatorade Players of the Year and guys who had 15, 30 offers. And the major difference I feel like I noticed when I came from Oregon State to Fresno State is a coach would be ripping a dude at Oregon State, and you could kind of hear him under his breath like, oh, I should have went to Texas Tech, or like, oh, I should have went, like, it's like versus at Fresno State, usually Fresno was probably one of two offers like that, like they took a shot on you, So guys have just a different culture and mindset and approach, I felt like. And for you, just the amount of winning we were able to accomplish together. How much of that do you feel like comes down to, like belief, culture, and buy-in rather than rankings?
I think it's huge. I think it's so much as like a lot of games in football, as we know, or they're not blowouts, they're close games. So when you have those people who are like, I feel like we're built for that. I feel like the guys we had in the locker room were built for the grimy games, built for the tough games, built for we're going to go to overtime. All right, let's go. Like, we had that real mentality. They put the ball down, let's go. Like, that's the mentality we had. And I think it was a special group of guys we had.
Yeah, no, 100%. And just being able to kind of share that together was cool. And then obviously I think just kind of taking you back, for a second, I don't know the last time you've kind of debriefed on your career, but what you've accomplished, it's against all odds, bro. I'm hearing all, and I'm always talking about you with my wife, and I'm like, bro, this dude's killing it, crushing it, still in the league, got drafted, and then you kind of actually look at your story. just like, I mean, unranked, I mean, unrecruited in high school. I mean, you weren't highly recruited high school kid. I mean, no stars, like no flooded Division I interest. I mean, like when that reality hit at 17, I mean, like what was going through your mind?
I mean, it's crazy because some people just don't believe, but like I just never had that mentality that like I wasn't gonna make it. You know, like I was like my D2 school I went to, like I knew I was going to the league. Talked about it every day. Like I had a group of guys that I'm going to the league, and then I go to Fresno State, and I ended up having a red shirt, couldn't play. I'm like I'm going to the league. Like there was never a moment in my life where I was like I'm not gonna make it, and I walk like that, I step like that. Like that's just how I carried myself every day.
I always talk to guys too. I feel like the biggest thing is like you have to have a certain sense of like almost being like delusional a little bit. Like even for me, like no one had gone Division I at Dinuba, the high school I went to, since like 1973. And I always knew I was going to go Division I. Like there wasn't a question in my mind, but everyone around me was kind of like, this guy's kind of like a little off, bro. Like what, like why are you saying that? Like that don't make no sense. But it's just, I kind of knew deep down that, hey, this is what I want to do. And I mean, for you, I mean, just obviously being in the league, you just wrapped up year 6 in the league, and you've kind of played on different teams and different experiences and been around high level guys. I mean, like a lot of guys in that moment when they're getting recruited their senior year, and it's not looking the way they want it to. I mean, a lot of guys in that moment say, "I guess I'm not good enough." I mean, like, why didn't you?
Shoot, I think it's just like he's talking about a lot of self belief and a lot of like I've been through way worse things than getting cut in life. I've been through way worse things than not being the starter on day one. That when that happens, it's nothing. It's like, okay, like it's not my time now, but it's going to be my time. And you just got to trust in the work that you put in, the belief you did. And then also, too, sometimes I really think that people, they lose track of how far they came, you know? Like it's good to look back. Like with me, whenever I go through a hard time in the league, I think back about those nights I was sitting D2 staring at the ceiling like, man, I got to get out of here. Like there's no way I'm a Division II player nights. And, even the next year when I went to Fresno State, like y'all went all the way to the championship and I couldn't play. I was just sitting there watching you guys. So like that stuff is way worse than, oh, I'm in the National Football League and I'm not starting this game. Like, okay, I'm gonna work harder. I'm gonna get that start. And it's just that self belief that you're like, I'm gonna get there. Like everything I have is right in front of me. And I think like for me personally, it's God's giving me the tools. I just have to go use them. And I that's just how I really believe, and I really like I take that mentality every day.
Yeah, and I feel like just the world it's kind of shifted a little bit with the social media and the stars and the rankings and NIL and this and that. And I mean, like in your opinion, I mean, like how dangerous is it? You kind of talked about having self belief in yourself, even when it looked like you may have been a little delusional to the outside world, but to you, it's just like, no, this is what I want to do. This is my goal. This is my vision. This is what I want to do. Like, how dangerous is it for a young athlete to be seeking external validation from other people?
Man, it's terrible. I mean, it's terrible for a number of things because when you get into the NFL, and I think a lot of these kids who are hitting the transfer portal are doing, they're great players. I mean, these kids are bigger, faster, stronger than the generation is insane to watch every year. But like you, these fans we have, like these guys work 9 to 5s all year long and then bet on you. And so when you don't perform, like like it's hell. So if you're looking forward to validation for yourself, you're not gonna find it here and not in this league. Like, yeah, you might be the greatest thing walking for a week, but let's say the next week you missed that tackle, you dropped that ball, you missed that kick. Like these kids are setting themselves up for failure because everything they live off is social media. So I think when times get tough, it's gonna be really showing. But I think the best advice I can give to these kids is like you got to make sure that your circle is really there for you and really supports you because you're going to go through dark times. You are going to miss that tackle. You are going to drop that ball. You are, like you're going to mess up. You're going to miss. So you got to have those people that back you up, and those people aren't coming from social media.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that's such like an overlooked kind of part of the game is just having that proximity and that right group of people around you. Because even, I mean, from my own personal journey too, I mean, I kind of did rookie mini camp and stuff for a bit, but it's like just looking at my college career, I mean, everyone remembers Fresno State, Marcus, of winning Mountain West championships and bowl games. But it's like, I remember being at Oregon State for 3 years and like kind of playing here, playing a little bit there. And it's like, you don't have everyone cheering your name and cheering and
Exactly.
rooting you on. And that's tough, dude. I mean, that challenges you as an athlete and as a player and really kind of your character. And I think, even for you, I mean, people look at Mykal Walker. He's been in the NFL for 6 years. He's doing his thing. He's making tackles, doing all this stuff, and kind of talk to like just really the harsh realities on the NFL. I think everyone kind of has this idea of I'm going to go to the NFL. I'm going to sign $100 million contract, and I'm going to be with one team for 20 years. Like kind of talk to that a little bit.
Oh man, like it's kind of what I was going to go into. So I get drafted to Atlanta, and so for 3 years, you know, if the guy in front of you isn't playing well, why don't we put Mike in? Like we drafted him. Like, oh, he's way better. Like bench this guy, put him in. But then you have to understand, like all that stuff builds, but then you become that guy. So now you're the guy, and they drafted the guy behind you. Well, bench him. Oh, Mykal Walker sucks. Get him out of Atlanta. Da, da, da. Like, but the year before that, I was the greatest thing to walk through. You know what I'm saying? So I think that part people don't understand too. And like, when you sign these contracts, man, like you can't look online and see what it says on TV because that's not what people are making. And really, like now, mind you, do you make a good money? Yes, you make a very good living, but you're not retiring for the rest of your life off your rookie contracts. So I think people need to understand that. That's number one. And then two, as far as the business side of this thing, I've been places where I have outperformed the guy, but because I'm older and cost more money, they release me for that person. And that's just the reality of it. You have to be comfortable with that. I mean, nobody likes that phone call. You get cut, and like a lot of guys who play sports. I've never been cut before in anything in my entire life. The first time I get cut was in the National Football League. So it's not a good feeling, but it's that's just how it is. And as soon as you get used to that's how the job is, that's how the business is, that's how the NFL works. Like you kind of get this like a calming stuff to yourself, and it goes back to self belief. Like yeah, I got cut from this team, but shit, there's 31 other teams. So I think that's the biggest thing that people understand. Like number one is the contracts are not what you think they are. Number two, you're not going to retire off your rookie contract. And number three is like the sooner you can understand how this business works, the better you're going to be because it's all a mental game. It's a mental struggle every day. You're talented enough to play. It's all about your mental.
Right. I mean, you kind of talk about, I mean, that's got to be such a reality kick for the first time you've ever got cut in your life. You've always probably been the most athletic, the biggest, the tallest, the fastest, the strongest. And then you finally kind of experience that day where you do get cut and say, hey, best of wishes to you. It's just not going to work out here, but we hope you find somewhere else. Like, how much of staying in the NFL comes down to just mental fortitude?
Man, it's huge. It's huge. And the biggest thing I would say to people that helps you is like, you got to be light. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody wants to work with an asshole. And that's just what it is. Like, I've been on several teams. I don't know if there's one building I walk into in all 32 teams where I don't know at least one player or one coach. And that's how you sustain this league is, if you're a good person to work with. Yeah, we like that guy. Like, I enjoy coaching that guy. I enjoy working with him. Like, I talk to every single position. It doesn't matter if you're not just my position. Like, they look for all those things because we all have to live together. So, I think that's the biggest thing. It's just as far as that aspect of it is like, make sure you're a light in the building. Like, you don't got to kiss anybody's butt because the coach is butt or anything like that. But like I said, nobody wants to work with a guy who's negative every day. Nobody wants to be around somebody who's like that. And I think that's goes into being able to stay in this league for so long.
Yeah, and I think that doesn't even apply to just the NFL. I mean, that really at any level. I mean, if you're a likable guy, a lot of times you'll find a way. I mean, even in the business world, that's where I've kind of transitioned to now. It's like, hey, if I have a business opportunity, I had a couple $1,000s to give away to someone to do a special appearance. I reached out to my buddy Ramel Dockery because he's my friend and I like him, and he's someone I wanted to do business with. So it's like people
Yeah,
do business with people that they like, and same thing teammate wise,
exactly.
and kind of just, I mean, even transitioning a bit from kind of the NFL to just the different levels, you have just this unique experience of being able to play. I mean, really four levels. I mean, but high school, college, kind of JUCO D1, and then the NFL. But I mean, just between the three levels, high school, college, and NFL, I mean, like, what, in your opinion, what were the like biggest gaps that had to be filled? Because I feel like there's always kind of a wake up call, like when you hit college, you're like, man, if I would have just known this in college, I would have been, or in high school, I would have been way better in high school. And then you get to the league, you're like, man, if I would have just known this in college, I would have been way better in college. Like, what are some of those like gaps that you could kind of give people some foresight into their future?
Well, yeah, I mean, first I want to tell everybody is like the biggest wake up call to me was that I coming from the Mountain West. When you're in college, right, and you the practice squad guys, like usually the practice squad guys in college, like they're not ready yet. They're like the scout team, like they're getting there. In the NFL, the scout team running back might have been all ACC running back of the year. He might be the Big 12 player. The receiver you're going against, the scout guy, might be the first team all league Big 12. You know what I'm saying? So like the talent level, when people see, oh, he doesn't play, he's in the NFL, he's in the scout team. Well, those guys were those guys that we wanted to be in college. But what I would say, as far as like when it comes to the NFL, the biggest gap in college and high school, it's about how it's all about the mental, the study time you put into it. Like what I always say to people is on defense. I play like defense, obviously I play linebacker. So I don't react to plays; I anticipate plays. So like as a defensive player, if you're sitting there and you're reacting to the offense, they know where they're going. Okay, because they know when the ball snaps where they need to be. You don't. If you're reacting to that, you're always going to be a step late. So with film study, with preparation, I anticipate the play. Oh, they lined up in this formation, so that means they can only do this, or that. If this guy takes one step this way, I know exactly what play it is. Just because I watch the plays, I watch the study, I study the guys, like, and that's the biggest thing. Like everybody here, like I always say, like, if you're in the National Football League, give your PhD in football. Like you really do this. Like you're a doctor in this aspect. Like you're a master of your craft. Like you know what you're doing if you made it all the way. So like the biggest difference for us in college was in college. Shoot, I might wake up in the morning, got a night game. I might go eat whatever, and then all right, coach, I'm here. Go play in the game. In the league, it's like, oh yeah, like I'm on the bus looking at the plays. About okay, this is that. Okay, this is that. I'm in the locker room right before I go out. Like okay, I'm watching the film. Like it's just all about a mental thing. I think everybody is big, fast, strong. It's about how fast you can pick up things and what you could read. Now, saying all that, I will say that offensive linemen are the trenches. There's a difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
there is a difference of you've never seen a 300-pound man move as fast as you see this NFL lineman. And I will highlight one dude, the Miami Dolphins center, monster. I mean, he's not that big, but that dude might run a 4.5.
Honestly, I've never heard anyone say a PhD in football. I love that, bro. Because honestly, it's like that's such a real description of what it's like the higher you go up in levels. Because even like you said, I mean, in high school, I mean, I kind of knew coverages, I kind of knew this, but I didn't really know it, And then you get to college and you have to know it, or else you're not going to be able to do it. Because the best guys that I've ever been around, they're always it used to make me mad. Honestly, guys on defense who were actually like mentally there, it would frustrate me as a quarterback because it's like I would talk with the corner and he'd be like, "Oh, I knew you guys were going to run that corner hitch concept because you guys always pair it together." So it's like he's more looking at concepts and anticipating things, like you said, and not just reacting to stuff. And I mean, you talking to a high school athlete, obviously just playing the game is the best way to start developing those instincts and stop reacting and start anticipating. But how can they almost double down on that skill and start to develop that anticipation?
Yeah, right. So I think in high school, what I would say is I think for high school, it's all about the kid, the player. Like you got to develop yourself. You got to be like, I think for a high school kid, because I mean, I don't know how they are now. When I was in high school, we didn't have film in the team. We went out there and played. So I mean, I think they do now. So maybe they do be able to watch film study and stuff like that. But in high school, I would say for the kids, like really develop yourself. Be a master of yourself. Learn what you do well. Learn what you don't do well. That's the biggest thing too. Like you have to know your strengths and weaknesses. Like not everybody's good at everything. That's why the game of football is so great. But when you can figure that out, like I think in high school, for a high school kid, I would say like try to make your left hand your right hand. You know what I'm saying? Like really improve what you're not that good at in high school. And when you get to college, that's when you can start anticipating at a time because it doesn't matter if you know what the other team's doing if you don't know what you're doing. And master the playbook. That's the biggest thing that people always overlook is like, oh, I'm fast or I'm strong, but you don't know what you're doing. You'll never play in this league. You'll never play in college if you don't know what to do. So that's my biggest thing too. Like for kids, and my biggest thing for you, and I was a high school kid, is really focus on yourself, develop what you need to do, but know what you're doing at all times. It's not good enough to be like, oh, I didn't know what I was doing, but I'm faster than this guy, so I just ran past him. Or I didn't know what I was doing, so but I'm big, I'm better than him, so I just jumped over him. It's not good enough. Like when you realize when the coaches trust you, it's going to make you that better of a player.
Yeah, and I feel like that's such an ego pill and something that unless you've had conversations with people who have played at the college level or played at the NFL level, there's guys in high school where coaches are going to play you just because you're fast or just because you're strong. Like even no matter what, no matter how many times you mess up, they're going to keep you in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a rude awakening. I feel like I know so many guys in college, and I'm sure you do too, even in the league, guys that they're so talented, way talented than any guys that are on the field, way better, faster, stronger, better athletes, talented, but couldn't sniff the field because they could not line up the right way. They were supposed to go left, they go right. They're supposed to do X and they do Z, so it's like it's just the playbook and mental. And I feel like the sooner kids could really start to digest that and appreciate the boring side of football is what's actually going to get you to the next level. So kind of talk about that. What are like the day-to-day things obviously that you're doing? It's like you just finished your off season. Are you just going to take 4 months off and not work out? Or obviously there's a part of recovery and rest that's important that I feel like everyone listening to his response, take it with a grain of salt too, because once you reach a certain level, you earn rest and you earn recovery. Most kids that are in high school, you haven't earned 2 to 3 months off. So, but kind of talk about that, like what you're doing now versus like a high school athlete, like how it might be a little different.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, my cousin is Maurice Jones-Drew, a Hall of Fame running back, in my opinion, for the Jaguars. Um, he tells me all the time, like, you should never go a week without doing anything. And that's some stuff like I had to learn when I was younger. I would take more than weeks off, not doing anything. But that's his thing. And I mean, if he steps like that's something for me too. And when you're in high school, right? When you finish football season, you go to basketball. When you finish basketball season, you go to track. So you do these things, and it gets lost sight. You lose sight of that when you get to college because we're not multi-sport athletes. It's like, oh, I'm gonna chill. But I think it's so important to keep that same mentality. Like, okay, if football season ended and I was in high school, what would I be doing right now? Oh, I would be going to the next sport. Or let's say I'd be going to track. I'd be doing baseball. I'd be doing whatever it is, whatever your next sport is. So you got to take that same mentality into the offseason now. Like, now I'm not going to go out there and run 20 hills, win sprints, and lift, but I'm going to go do something. If I go take my son to the zoo, I'm walking around. If I go take him to the aquarium, I'm walking. If I go, like, you know, places, I'm going to go do something that's active. Because if you just sit around all day, all that work you put in the whole season, you lose it all. So I think my biggest thing is, yes, I'm going to take more rest than a lot of people, but I'm still going to do something. You can't just sit around and do nothing for the whole time. And active rest is just as good as working out, doing full workouts. But no, I am not doing a full workout in the next month and a half, 2 months. So, but I will be doing something. So I will, to answer your point, I will say, yeah, just make sure you're doing something. Active recovery is good. Never just sit around for, multiple days. It's never good for you.
Yeah, no, elaborate on that a little bit too, because I feel like I got introduced to what a real active recovery day actually looks like. Where in my mind, in high school, as a high school kid, I'm thinking back to 16-year-old Marcus here, be like, oh, you guys have a rest day. Be like, oh, bro, I'm chilling on the couch and I'm playing Call of Duty for 15 hours, bro. And I'm only getting up to go to the restroom, So it's like, versus an active recovery day as an NFL player, what does an active recovery day actually look like?
So if I was in the building, right? So our Tuesdays, we get Tuesdays off. So my active recovery day would be like, all right, I'm gonna show them in the building. I'm gonna go with the tubs, the hot tub, the cold tub. I'm gonna go to the weight room staff. I'm getting stretched out. So I'm stretching. I'm using, I'm doing grasping, I'm doing like treatment, stuff like that. Like the active recovery day, where as far as like, I'm not going to sit at home all day. I'm going to go on there and I'm going to go do a yoga session. I'm going to go do, just like I said, stretching, or go to the treatment room, get my hamstrings worked on, calves worked on. I might go on the treadmill for a little bit, just do the bike or hit the bike. I go on the bike for a couple of minutes just to move around a little bit. Some people, I've seen some guys do full wind, they do little gassers back and forth. And you don't got to go out there and sprint them, but you got to keep moving. You got to keep moving around and stuff like that, especially for us athletes. Like, as much elastic acid that you put in your body, like, you got to get it out. So if you sit around like I used to do when I was in college and I would just play video games all day, that's where that Monday that comes around, or that for us is Wednesday, comes around. It's horrible because you just sat around all day. So that's what I was saying. Just your active recovery doesn't mean I went out and did a workout. but it could be like, just stretching, or it could be getting rehab, or it could be doing little things like that that get you prepared for the next day.
Yeah, no, and that's perfect too, because I wanted you to, for guys and parents and athletes to hear that, to where it's like, I did the exact same thing. I mean, you kind of have a recovery day and you think, oh, I'm going to do nothing today. Be like, oh, why aren't you doing anything? Be like, it's my rest day. But that's actually the worst possible thing you could do, is just sit around. Your body gets tight, everything gets tighter and all that stuff, to where, I mean, even for you, I mean, kind of just thinking about that, obviously, just everything you've learned and developed, I mean, from 17-year-old Mike to now, and just kind of the knowledge you have. And obviously you're a father now. I mean, two beautiful kids. And I mean, your son, Caden, I mean, he's going to have an unbelievable advantage. I mean, if he chooses to play sports, and simply because of your resume and your experience. But for you, I mean, like, what are some of the biggest issues you see in sports today that you hope to avoid with Caden?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be tough regardless, because how I grew up. I grew up, as people like to say, out the mud. I had to get it out the mud. I had to go out there and grind every day. I didn't have as lot of resources as my son will have. And I think it's like we talked about. It's a mentality thing. Like, should my son be better than I was with the resources he has? Well, I think yes. I assume he will be. We'll have trainers. We'll have all the equipment. We'll have everything he needs to get him there. But there's something about that dog mentality that we like to say, like, you got to have. And that's what's tricky when you take these kids to private schools, when you take these kids to private workouts, like, because they don't, there's no adversity. I think adversity makes you who you are. Adversity brings that out of you. And if you kids don't have adversity, they don't go through nothing. That's going to be what my thing balancing out, which now I'm not here to sit here and tell you like, oh, that kid, he didn't go through anything, so he's not going to be good. Because a lot of these kids are 5-star athletes because of the resources that they have. But it's just a balance for me, because I don't know any other way. I don't know any other way than getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go do a workout system. No one even sees you. No one sees you out there on the ladder. I remember with DeAndre O'Neal, Tay, being out there with Tay on the field with ladders. He's in the Bulldog Stadium, just hitting workouts and stuff like that. He's a foot goer, just doing all kinds of stuff that no one even noticed. I remember being at my D2 school with all my best friends, doing 7-on-7 on the rec field, just because we're trying to get timing down, trying to get, what I'm saying? But nobody even hears about that. So I don't know. I think it's a certain mentality it kind of builds. And I think the biggest thing that I can, keep hitting on is just like, these kids are special. Kids are athletic. Kids are tall. Kids are strong. Like, it's your mental. Your mental is what's going to get you from 17 years old to year 6, year 7, year 10 in the league. Because you got to be mentally strong, mentally tough, and everything else is going to do it, pay for itself.
Yeah, no, and I think it's such like, and I always try to harp on it in every single podcast we talk about, because it's something that's, you can't measure it. It's an intangible. It's like when you're doing a college workout, whether it's your first year, your second year, or maybe even the league, you're going to do a workout that's going to get close to either breaking you, or it is going to break you. And that's just the heads up, right? So it's like, just expect it, because it's going to happen. But there's something about like in that moment when you're tired, and everyone around you tired, you're looking around side to side, and I look to my left and I see Mykal Walker, and I see his hands are on this thing and he's hurting, but he kind of gives me a look and just kind of gives me a nod. It's like, all right, bro, I got to keep going.
Yeah.
To where it's like a lot of people don't have that little extra gear. Like, hey, we know you're tired. I'm tired. But it's like, hey, are you going to take this opportunity as a leader, as a teammate, as a captain to kind of talk positive about your team? Or are you going to be under your breath cussing and saying, this is dumb, coach is dumb, and spitting and be like, why are we doing it? So it's like, I think that's where you're talking about that adversity, to where I feel like I always took pride in that and be like, yo, I'm dog tired, bro. I want to quit. I want to give up. But I'm going to be standing up tall. I'm going to be breathing. I'm going to like give the presence that like, hey, I'm here for my teammates. And I think that's something that's really important for athletes to build on too. Just like you could build little character traits along your journey and small things like that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is I've always wanted to be a leader that didn't have to say too much. Like, I can give little hoorah speeches here and there, but like, I'm not a hoorah guy. I'm not a go bang my head before I run out there in the locker room type of guy. So like, I was never my thing. So at Fresno, it was always like, okay, when we do these conditioning drills, I'm going to be first, or I'm going to keep I'm gonna be standing up tall even though I'm hurt. Just to see, because other people are gonna see that. It's contagious. People see you and they're like, oh, I want to be like that. And I think the biggest help for me was Frank. I look over and I see little Frank do it. I'm like, well, if he can do it, I gotta be able to keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just little things like that. Like, it's so important to be what I always tell people, a leader, because when you're a guy who, yes, everybody watches the guys who make all the big plays, but when you're a guy that you say like Frank, for instance, like this dude, he competes every single day. He wants to be first in everything he does. I mean, he's first in the stadiums. He's setting records for the stadium. Like, I'm like, damn, like I want to be like that too. Like, and it's contagious because what people don't understand is you don't have to say anything to them. Like, you don't have to say anything to teammates like, oh, I'm doing this. So they're going to look at you and be like, okay, if he's doing that, I got to step my game up here. I got to raise my game up here. And then next, the whole team comes with you. And I think that's the most important thing for kids. Like, man, be that leader, be that light, be that guy that people look to when they're tired. That's the most important thing. When you're a quarterback, when we were like, when things hit the fan, we're like, all right, well, shit, Marcus got to pull us out. Like, people are going to look to you. You ain't got to say anything. Like, you weren't like the guy who said, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that. We're like, we just knew, like, oh, Marcus is going to win us this game. And I think that's such an important thing for kids to understand. Like, being that player, it builds character, and you're going to be that guy that people look to in times of struggle or times of heartache and all that stuff. So I think it's important for kids to realize that, and you can start that now. And you do not have to be the starting receiver, the starting running back, the starting quarterback to be that guy.
Yeah, no, and I think that's important for context too, just to that story, to where me and you both have an extreme amount of love and appreciation for Frank. Frank knew he was not going to be a starting NFL receiver. I think Frank knew that. Frank had no business being the first one finishing the stadium.
Every time.
From an athletic standpoint, there's no business Frank should be in the front. Frank led the charge, and every day, I mean, he lives his brand every single day of his life. I mean, he brings the juice to everything he does, and I think that was something to where the year we win the Mountain West Championship in 2018, and me and you have a cool photo up on stage with Tedford, and Frank was you look at the record book and the stats, he's not scoring a bunch of touchdowns doing stuff, but he was a critical component to us winning that championship. Because there are days, I've been on winning teams and I've been on losing teams in college. I promise you, game 9, 10, 11, 12 is hard to show up to practice on Monday, whether you're winning or you're losing.
Yeah.
It gets very difficult to show up to practice because you've been doing the same thing every single day for the last 6 months. And you're like, dude, this is getting tiring. You're seeing the same people, the same faces, and it's getting repetitive. And kind of talk about that to where obviously it's a job in the NFL and it's what you're required to do and you're getting paid to do, but kind of talk about that when you're in high school and kind of growing up, and how difficult and how it gets boring and it gets repetitive, but you should be important to do it all.
Yeah, man. I mean, it gets in the league, it gets tough. It gets real tough. Like, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing at Wednesday at 10:30. I know exactly what I'm going to be doing on Thursday at 2 o'clock. It's the same stuff, and it's funny because in the league, people run the same place. Everybody runs the same place. So each week, the PowerPoints that you sit there and go through, that's another thing people don't understand. Like, you can only play football for so long a day. Like, most of our day is spent in the classroom or inside meetings, inside PowerPoints. Like, that's most of our day. And so, like, a lot of guys are like, oh, I hate when people say, like, oh, like, I hate school or I wasn't good at school. I'm like, well, what do you think this job is? Like, you're inside school all day. You go on the field for 2 hours. We're there. We start at 7 and you don't leave till 6. You can't practice that time alone. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to realize that, like, you got to find something, like either a teammate that you mess with, like, or somebody, because like you're saying, when you get to, like, you guys say week 10, week 9, week 10, I mean, we're week 16, week 17, like, then you have preseason, like, and it's the same PowerPoints. This team runs Steeler 7. This team runs Patriot. This team runs it. But it's the same. You can just copy and paste it and move it from this team to that team, because every team in the league runs the same stuff. So there's only so many run plays and so many pass plays you can do. So, like, it's, like I said, it gets tough. But, like, I will say to people, it's just an appreciation. Like, I'm so grateful to be here and realize that, like, the league owes you nothing. Like, it doesn't owe you anything. Every day you wake up in the morning, it's a privilege to be there. So I think that's the biggest thing for people. Like, even college, like, you're going to college, most of these kids for free. You know, you're in high school because you want to get to college for free. You're in college because you want to play in college to get to the league. You know what I'm saying? So you have to just have that appreciation every day that gets you through those times. Because I'll tell you, the 3 p.m. week 15, and they're doing the same meeting, and you're sitting there like this, dying. You got to find a way.
Yeah, no, for sure. And even I remember being at like Oregon State and quarterback meetings, and it's like you're getting an install of 15 brand new plays that you're going to be running later that afternoon. And it's like 6 in the morning. It's 6 in the morning. You're getting an install of 15 brand new plays, and you're like, what in the world is going on? And you're like chewing seeds just to kind of stay awake and trying to do everything you can just to digest the plays. And it's definitely a process. And even for me, I vividly remember transitioning from Oregon State to Fresno State. And kind of like you said, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, football's football and you can only run so many different plays. But I think the biggest thing for me was that it's almost learning like a new language. Like I remember when I transferred from Oregon State to Fresno State, a post was called something. Maybe it's called a bang eight, or but at Fresno State it's called something different. It's just like learning like a different language. I felt like a lot of the times to where you've experienced that. I mean, multiple times. I think you've been with was it 5 or 6 teams now or seven?
How many did I play for, or how many did I
Yeah,
on the roster? So, all right.
you've
So,
been on the roster.
all right. So Atlanta for 3. I went to Chicago for like a cup of coffee. Then I went to the Raiders 5 weeks. So Atlanta, Chicago, the Raiders, uh, Pittsburgh, Washington, just 6.
Got it. So you've been on 6 teams total, a part of 6 organizations. I had a difficult time transitioning from Oregon State to Fresno State because, I mean, at the end of the day, football's football, and you're going to run plays, and same thing with defense. Cover three is cover three, cover four is cover four. But it's like learning a new language. So, I mean, for you, how difficult was that transition, and how important was it for you to be a student of the game and have a PhD in football because you have to transition and learn different playbooks when you bounce between teams?
Yeah, so I think really, I kind of credit my mom a lot when I came to that type of stuff. But I've always been like position flexible as far as I can play this position, that position. My mom like wanted me to be like that. But when it comes to the playbooks and stuff, football, we all run the same stuff. It's just they call it something different. So that's the biggest thing, you know. Like when you're in a cover 3 drop, you can only have so many people. You know, they gotta go somewhere. It's just they call it something different. So I think for me it was just like, okay, how I learn and study plays is like every time I have a drop, right? No matter if it's a pressure or if it's a simulator, if it's a cover 3, a cover 2, whatever that drop is, if it's the same drop, I'll put it in the same category. So in my notes, it'll be in the same area. Like, okay, I every single time this draw is called, I do this thing. If every time it's a blitz, I'm blitzing the big guy. No matter what it is, I put it all in this place. That's what I play one. Now when I go to my neck, when I flip through the pages, now I'll put them out. Okay, all cover 3s over here, all cover 1s over here, all blitzes over here. But when I look at that first one, it's almost like a table of contents. So like a little cheat sheet. Like, okay, well, this place doesn't have this. Then I go over and flip over the things and I can find out what I can expect. So I think for me, it's how good you can learn. You know, I think taking notes is such a skill. I think taking notes is a skill for people, and I think it's like the most important thing in football because the playbook is going to look like this. And you got to be able to get through that. So
Yeah. No, I feel like it's so important to be able to kind of like compartmentalize. And like you said, having that PhD in football is so important. And I feel like for me, I think using like 7-on-7 as a tool and being able to like actually learn and not just like, oh, the offense one or the defense one. Cause I used to always get on you and Juju and you guys is day one of fall camp. You guys are running 2 Tampa and 3 double cloud and 4 Packer. And I'm like, bro, we're trying to run inside zone and 5 yard outs, bro. Like let's calm it down a little bit, bro. So I think it's just important to kind of use it as stepping stools and understand it's like, hey, every 7-on-7 tournament or every practice could be used as something to kind of develop something. And just, I mean, one of the last questions I kind of want to ask you today is just like, how are you approaching, how does Mykal Walker in year 6 of the NFL approach practice differently than senior high school Mykal Walker?
And honestly, I think it starts with gratitude. Like every day I walk on a practice field, like I'm thankful to be there. And I think that's something I like. It took me a while to get that. And like for a long time, I wanted to be a pro bowler. I wanted to be all. I still do. But it's just like you lose sight of some of the, you lose sight of the, like the preparation and all the appreciation you got to get to where you are. So like every day I get up in the morning, I'm just appreciating and grateful that I have the opportunity to do this. And then as far as like I'm older, so like my routine before practice looks a little different than it used to be. I just go on the field, walk over there. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just do prep. Like if I know our install, like I'll go through the install 10 times before I even get out there. When I get on the field, I've gone through it. I've gone through every play I'm going to do in each position, even if I'm not playing that position. Like I know exactly. Like, let's say someone's ankle is hurt, like I got to go play that position. I know what to do in every spot. So I think for me, my preparation is a lot different. And you're going on your 7 now because I know how fast. Oh, this guy, I don't like him that goal yet. How fast the coach can take you. I want you to play this position over there. Yeah, let me see what you look like over there. And the more you can do, the better you are. So I think that's the biggest thing. The biggest takeaway is just be flexible, be able to play every spot, and then know what, like, yes, you might know what you're doing if you're the X receiver, but know what the Z's doing, know what the slot's doing. Like, be able to play everything on the field. That's going to go a long way for you.
Yeah, and I think it's absolutely, especially as a high school athlete, it's not a requirement, but it's only an added benefit the sooner you can start doing it, is to where the biggest jump I made in my game was my junior year to my senior year at Fresno State, to where I jumped from not just understanding how they were calling the plays and what actually everyone was doing and like the mechanical aspects of the play, but then you start to actually internalize and understand like, well, why is the offensive coordinator calling this, or why is the
Yeah.
defensive coordinator calling this? And I feel like that once you hit that level of understanding, like, hey, it's third and short. We know they like to run this pressure, and this is why he's calling it, because we're expecting to be hot from this side. Like, that's where I think you could just make such a drastic jump in the game. And I think that's kind of what you're alluding to a little bit. It's like, it's not just the what and how am I doing it, but you kind of take that next jump to like, well, why am I doing what I'm doing, and how do I fit into this concept?
Yeah, I think that our coaches this year did a really good job of that. They said, you guys should know what play I'm going to call based on the situation. And we do that every day, every day in practice. It's always like, okay, if it's 2nd and 6, what are we thinking? Okay, we're thinking pass, we're thinking drop back, we're thinking quick game. Okay, what do you guys think we should be calling this situation? It was just about like, we call situation awareness. That's the best thing you can have. It's just like when you get to a point where you know what you're doing, that's the number one thing first. Then you can anticipate, not react to what the offense is doing or the defense is doing. And then you have an understanding of what your coordinator is calling and why. You're way above the game. I think that's the biggest thing I will say for kids, high school, college. Like, number one, understand what you're doing. Number two, start realizing what the other side of the ball is trying to do. And number three, realize what your coach is calling and why he's calling. And I think that's going to take your game to, you're going to surpass anything you thought you could do in this game.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the last two questions I have for you, I mean, the first one would be, what were you worrying about in high school that you kind of laugh about now that shouldn't have even been a worry to begin with?
Yeah, high school. And I was worried about being at a small school, like a small high school, not thinking I'm going to get the recommend. I'm thinking I want to go to University of Texas or Alabama. Worried about playing running back. That's number one. I'm playing running back. I was like, so I'm worried about that. And just like I said, I think the biggest worry I was worried about was the recruiting process. I think that's such a thing. And it's just like, if you go out there every day and you ball, they're going to find you, man. It's so cliche. I used to hate people say it to me. Trust me, like, it's the worst thing to hear when you're not at a big school. Oh, if you're good, they'll find you. But it's true. It really is true. And I'm a testament to that, my story. Um, it is what it is, man. Like, you can't control everything, and you're in high school. You can't control where your parents move. You can't control where your parents screw you up at. All you can control is what you're controlling. So I think it's all going to take care of itself. So that's my biggest thing was not worrying that I wasn't going to these big old high schools, just private schools. I didn't have the resources that these other kids had. And now I laugh about it because now I'm in the NFL. So like, it didn't matter. It didn't matter if I didn't have these crazy gyms or all this private stuff. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, no, and I think before I ask you the final question too, I think there's something to attest about, like you said, having that adversity. And even when I was at Oregon State or Fresno State, you kind of lift in all the fancy gyms and you have all the equipment and stuff like that. But uh, some of my best workouts and favorite workouts, I feel like, were when I'd come home and I'd lift with my dad in the garage and we just had a bench and
Yeah,
some like still weights. I'm like, bro, we're
yeah,
getting after it, bro. Like this is a workout, bro. Like there's something about just like there's nothing here. And even for me, I mean, you talked about there's something to be appreciative about having a chip on your shoulder. And for me, like I knew I wanted to play in college. You knew you wanted to play in college. And I kind of had the luxury. It wasn't a luxury at the time that I knew my parents couldn't afford to pay for my college. So I was like, well, if you have this big goal and aspiration, you want to play in college, you better go find a scholarship and be good enough to get one, you know? So
yeah.
no matter what your cards or your deal, I mean, just there's a way someone's won with the worst hand, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think you're just a living testament to that, to where I think it's easy for people to play victim. You could have said, oh, poor me. I didn't get recruited out of high school. I'll never get a shot. Oh, I'm going to junior college. Oh, I didn't leave after my first year. I had another year, you know? So it's like, there's different things that you could use as having a chip on your shoulder and advantage. And kind of the last question I want to ask you is just like, when saying all that and everything you've shared, I mean, if you could leave, I mean, just like one message with every young athlete who feels, I mean, behind and overlooked and counted out, I mean, like, what would it be?
What I would leave everybody with is like have that belief in yourself and find those people because I mean I can sit here and tell you to believe yourself, think you're the best every day, but like there's gonna be days you don't think that. There's gonna be days you lose. And on those days you lose, you're gonna find those people that are gonna keep you up. And that could be your mom, your girlfriend, I mean, shoot. I got I got other girlfriends that I'm not with now that like and those hard moments, they got me through those hard moments. Sometimes people come to your life for a reason, you know? And sometimes people are not supposed to be in your life for a long time, but they make the biggest impact in your life. So what I'll leave people is like never burn any relationships and just as hard as it's gonna be, like when you set little goals, set little goals that you can complete every day. That's I want to be the starter this week, or I want to go for 100 yards this game. Like set little goals that will turn into big things. When you take care of little things, the big things take care of themselves.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I think my final thoughts on that too would be, I mean, I feel like when you're setting these goals and expectations and you're starting to stack little wins and kind of start habits, it's when you're almost overly prepared for the situation and you do win. I feel like we got to this point at Fresno State, honestly. When we were winning games, everyone was almost surprised, but I was like, bro, I know the work we've put in, and this is almost an expectation. Like, I expect to win, to where it's like you almost got to get to the point to where it's, I hate losing more than I actually love winning, because it's like I
Yes.
know what I put into it and the time and effort and energy I put into it. And yeah, I mean, just Mike, I mean, I appreciate you so much, bro. I mean, just you taking time. I know you just finished your season and you're gonna spend time with your family and relax and kick your feet up, play some games and have an active recovery day and not just relaxing. But definitely appreciate you, brother. I mean, not just for, I mean, the career, but I mean, for the example you said for any young athlete who feels like they're being overlooked right now, and you're just a living image of that, what's possible for them to do. And I mean, to every athlete, I mean, listening, I mean, your current situation, I mean, it doesn't define your final destination. Yeah, until next time, appreciate you guys. This Athlete Country Club, appreciate you
Yes,
guys.
sir. Appreciate you having me on, man.